Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to Committee as a Whole for Human Resources and Education, Thursday, October 1st, 2020. Ms. Coakley, could I have the roll call, please?
Mr. Green. Here. Mrs. Heinz. Mr. Derman.
Here.
Mr. Loop.
Here.
Mr. Harrell.
Here.
Mr. Nation.
Here.
Mrs. Richardson. Here. Mr. Winkler.
Here.
Mrs. Drucker. Here. Mr. Bittencourt. Here. Mrs. Lamy. Here. Mr. Hersey.
Here.
Mr. Bro. Mr. Kuzan.
Here.
Mrs. Page.
Here. Thank you, Ms. Coakley. We're going to go ahead and dispense with the invocation pledge as it was done in our prior meeting. Do we have any visitors? Any board members who would like to recognize any visitors? Public comments, 5 minutes. Do we have anyone that has signed up for 5 minutes? 3 minutes. Next on the agenda, approval of the minutes for the committee as a whole meeting held on September 3rd, 2020. Do I have a motion? Mr. Harrell? Second, Mr. Bettencourt? Do I have any comments from the board? Do we have any comments from the public? Everyone vote, please. Fourteen yeas, the motion passes. Human Resources, Mr. Jabia, do we have anything from Human Resources?
Not tonight, Ms. Mays, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Instruction. Lewis, thank you, sir.
All righty. I have a quick update on Chromebooks and hotspots. So we have distributed to all brick and mortar schools, grades 6 to 12, 17,683 Chromebooks. And that's a moving target because we're constantly enrolling new students. So we're monitoring all these schools' enrollments so that we can provide additional devices. For reference, we had 23,000 some odd devices before we started this school year in the system. So we've added another 17,683 to date. So the network is going through some growing pains, but we're adjusting. The next focus is virtual school critical needs. So we're monitoring those students' login habits, if they're having issues, and we've identified students, and we're trying to reach out to those students to provide them Chromebooks next. Once we finish that, we're going to move to K-5 and start distributing additional Chromebooks. We still are waiting on 21,301 from HP and hope to receive those. Right now, they're telling us late October. We're hoping to see a little bit of movement. Hopefully, that'll be a little bit earlier. The next thing is hotspots. We placed an additional order for hotspots. We are expecting those the second or third week in October. I'm receiving requests from high school principals, from you, from Ms. LeMaine, teachers. So if a student's identified, we are adding them to the list, and then we're going to work through them all. Once we get these hotspots in, we've already tested them. We're actually working with another carrier so that we have some variety, so that if we do have a dead spot in the parish from one carrier, we have an alternative from another carrier. So that's what we're focused on, and I'll answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you so much. Board members, do we have any questions? Yes, Mr. Derman.
Lewis, did you say how many of them we've already given out as far as the hotspots are concerned?
We have not received the hotspots.
Oh, okay.
We will get those October second or third week in October.
Do we project how many we potentially will need?
Right now, I have 30 to 35 total on my list, and we ordered 250, and we're going to order another 250 from a different carrier. So we've over-ordered because we know that once we start the process, we're going to have additional students come forward. But right now, the list consists of about 33 students.
And so basically, from what you're saying, you may be projecting as high as 500 potentially out of the 39,000 students that we have.
Yes.
Now, can a household get on a individual hotspot, or like say they got 3 or 4 kids, I'm just saying.
So-
Does it overload it?
So what we do is we've taken the hotspot and we can lock it to the Chromebook that we distribute. We don't need the Chromebook back. So if the student has the Chromebook, we know the MAC address of the Chromebook. So we put that into the hotspot, so that Chromebook will only talk to that hotspot. We have some students, like in the virtual school, there's 5 students in the same household. Each hotspot will support up to 5 Chromebooks. So we'll be able to provide one hotspot and tie all those 5 to that one hotspot.
I knew that, I just wanted you to say it.
Thank you, Mr. Dunham.
All right.
Anyone else? Yes. Mr. Harrell?
I've heard a few different students at different schools that complain about different issues with the Chromebooks. Does each school have like a point person to fix those kind of issues, or is that something that the school just handles each school, or?
We have a paratech in the schools, we have computer techs going around, and then we can do a lot of remote management. And some of the complaints have been like the filter. Part of that is related to us throwing all these devices in at once. We reconfigured our entire filtering methodology to better support, and that eliminated a lot of those issues. So
it's steadily improving.
oh, yes. And
Okay.
we have techs out in the field, and now that we're starting to run out of the Chromebooks that we do have, we can put all of our techs back into the field to support the devices as opposed to configuring them to get them ready to distribute. So we're shifting now until we get our next shipments, everybody's going back to support.
Perfect, thank you.
Mr. Betancourt?
Thank you, Ms. Page. Louis, you said something about you assign a Chromebook to a hotspot,
Yes.
and then, but that's the only place that Chromebook will work, is when it's within the parameters or whatever of that hotspot?
No, a student can use the device anywhere, like at school, they can go to Starbucks or McDonald's, wherever there's a public wireless point, and it'll work.
Okay,
The hotspot is so that they can only use the Chromebook to surf that internet through that device, so that they don't connect the TVs and the game consoles and all the other, the
Okay.
device is limited to just education.
I got you. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
And Louis, that's free, the hotspots for our kids, or they have to pay for it?
They don't, but they're not free to
I mean,
us.
like, we're paying.
Someone
I
has
wish,
to.
Who's
I'd
footing the
ordered
bill?
39,000.
Who's footing the bill for the 535 that we're ordering hotspots? We are,
We are.
at a reduced rate, obviously, right?
Part of the deal with Sprint T-Mobile is we actually get the hardware at no cost. We have to pay a monthly fee, and the 250 will cost us roughly $5,000 a month to support that 250.
And then how long are we gonna
We have to
provide
lock,
the, how long is our contract with them?
1 year. That's why I'm trying to order as close to our requirement so that if I overextend us, I'm locking us into a contract long-term with nobody using the device. So I'm trying to stay as close as I can to the requirements.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you so
Thank
much. Thank you. Next, announcements. Mr. Nation.
Thank you, Mrs. Page. Just in case folks forgot, we are convening a special board meeting this Saturday, October the 3rd, beginning promptly at 9 a.m. for superintendent interviews, and we'll go into executive session, of course, to begin with. But the building, Mr. Jabby, will be open at 8 a.m. And I'm gonna turn to Mrs. Heinz, because it looks like, yes. Sure.
I just wanted to say that if anyone is having trouble coming up with a learning question, I have, some questions and I can
Give you some takers.
Right now, I got, if LSU and Alabama were playing, who would you pick to? Who would you pull for?
Mr. Turner.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know it.
Is
That's-
that it, Ms. Heights? Ms. Heights, Mr. Javia.
All right.
Mr. Javia has the floor.
Oh, sorry.
You were making announcements, I just want to be sure.
Question, that's fine.
I've only gotten one board member that's reported to me that they're not gonna be here Saturday, and I've sent him the link for the Zoom so that he can participate. Is there anybody else? If you are, email me.
I'm gonna be here, but I'm gonna have to leave, so I'm gonna need like the second part of the link.
Okay.
I mean, if that's okay, I'm gonna come
Yeah,
down and.
I'll email you the link also, okay?
I'm
So
gonna
you'll
get
have-
anything to eat at 8 o'clock in the morning, or should I bring donuts and stuff?
We are gonna have
got
breakfast
beignets?
for you,
At 8 o'clock.
and we're gonna have lunch for you.
I know about the lunch. but
Yeah, we're gonna have
the
some donuts and fruit and stuff like that. No eggs and bacon and all that.
What?
Grits?
No grit?
No grits.
Thank you, Mr. Javia. Do you have anything else, Mr. Nation?
Yeah, one other thing, just
Thank you.
again, in case anybody forgot, we have our regular board meeting next Thursday, October the 8th at 7 PM, and that's all I have.
Mr. Nation, I have a question. Are we going to go into executive session?
Yeah,
I saw an executive session.
yeah, so,
Don't expect one to be very long.
Mr. Nation, I assume you're going to be leading that, correct?
I'll be happy to do.
Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing
I'm-
further,
All right, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session regarding investigative proceedings pursuant to Louisiana Revised Statute 42:17-4. Is there a moved by Mrs. Drucker, second by Mr. Derman? All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed by like sign.